Linear is defined in two ways. One definition means sequential, or progressing from one stage to another in a series of mini-steps. In the other, and more literal definition, it means arranged in or extending along a straight or nearly straight line. In the video game world, things are a bit different. Video games are considered linear when a player is guided along a predetermined path, when the player's route and progression through the game is defined and chronological and completely foreseen beforehand by the developers. As you can see, video games that are considered linear don't usually meet the second, more strict definition. Usually the player does not literally travel in a straight line from beginning to end. This is true for most games in the first-person shooter genre. Well, enter Goldeneye 007's Train. Train actually is a straight line. The level consists of the player guiding James Bond from the back of the train to the front, traversing a series of train cars rife with enemies. There's only one direction, forward, with side-to-side movement and exploration being limited to within the train cars. The objectives are simple and the progression is simple. The gameplay really couldn't be any more straightforward. But why, despite its simplicity, does Train work so well? Why is it one of the most replayable and fun levels in the game? In this video, we're going to take a dive into the classic 90s level to find out. Let's get into it. GoldenEye 007 hardly needs an introduction. It's considered one of the most influential first-person shooters of all time. The game is chock full of iconic missions like Facility, Frigate, and Control, which have been played probably collectively tens of millions of times since the late 90s. GoldenEye is a linear game most of the time. Each level has a series of objectives that need to be completed, and players have only a bit of freedom in how they go about accomplishing them. Levels aren't super big, and there's only so much exploration to be had. Train is that, but exemplified. Exploration is not a thing in Train. There isn't a whole lot of room for it to be played differently. In Train's case though, this is hardly an issue. You begin the level in the back of the train in a cargo car with just one thin path forward. You're faced with 4 guards fortified behind boxes for cover. You'll have to use your own cover to take them out, peeking in and out to pick them off. You'll make your way into the next cargo car, which is longer and more intense, with 2 phases of more guards and cover behind boxes and crates. This car is tougher than the previous one, but it carries the same playstyle. Use cover, minimize risk, and take your time. You'll then find yourself in the first passenger car. The look and design changes. You're now walking down a very thin hallway with passenger compartments on your left. There are a bunch of guards in front of you blocking your path. They'll also come out of seemingly random compartments as you near them. Others will come out after you've passed them, flanking you. The playstyle you adopted in the first 2 cars won't really work here. This car is extremely thin and congested and void of any real cover. You'll either have to hover around the car's entrance, peeking around a small corner to take guards out one at a time, or you'll book it through in a dash to get to the end, before turning around and killing guards that followed you. Combined with the changed design and look of the car, this change creates a sense of evolution. Train feels like one of those towers or ladders in a fighting game that you must incrementally ascend. Each progression up the tower is harder than the last. Each fight tests you in a new way, putting more of your skills to the test. In this metaphor, each fight is each train car. Every car is more challenging than the one before it, with more and harder enemies and inevitably less and less health. Rare did an excellent job in crafting this tension for the player, which steadily builds as you progress. Train's pace is one of its strongest qualities. Destroying the brake units, the level's first objective, aids in this sense. After a car is cleared of enemies, you'll have to shoot its brake unit to complete the objective over time. Destroying the unit sort of represents the car's completion, or in some sense, the clearing of the stage. After you trek through one more passenger car, you'll enter what appears to be 2 first-class or private quarter passenger cars. Elite guards dressed in black await for you to enter and begin hunting you when they catch sight of you. Many wield ZMGs, which shoot faster than the D5Ks that guards have wielded until this point. Some are even dual-wielding. A few of these guards have body armor, making things more difficult. Guards are placed in random locations in each playthrough, keeping even more experienced players on their toes. These cars are the toughest, as you've probably been hit a few times by now and can only withstand a bit more damage. When you arrive in this area, you'll be hoping you're near the end. And again, the playstyle changes here. Your strategy will have to be more spontaneous, as you'll have to react to the guards' random placements. The tension culminates in the final car, the metaphorical final boss of the fighting game tower. This is what the entire mission has been building toward. You destroy the last brake and the train screeches to a halt. You're rushed by 2 more elite guards with body armor. Take them out and you enter the final room. You're immediately faced with General Aramov pointing a gun at Natalia with Trevelyan and Xenia behind them. You know you must keep Natalia alive. You walk closer and you're told, that's far enough. Your heart's pumping, but now's your time. Line up your shot on Aramov and pull the trigger. His lifeless body will fall to the floor and you'll feel a sense of relief. Natalia has been saved. But this success is short-lived. You now must escape the train. This whole sequence, from the moment you enter the final car until the end, feels like it's cranked up to 11. Soon after you kill Aramov, a countdown will pop up as Trevelyan prepares to blow the entire train. You'll have to quickly use your watch laser on a section of floor to cut your way to safety outside the train. But wait, you can't just leave right away. There's a computer in the room and Natalia has to use it to complete 2 objectives in less than a minute. When the objectives finally complete, it's time to haul ass. Get outside the train and there's more guards fortified behind boxes. Sprint away from them and pray, or walk backward while facing them, spraying your ZMGs like a madman. With a little luck, you've finally done it. You'll feel like you just finished a mad dash through an active war zone. The developers threw in one non-intuitive trick in this level. On 00 Agent, the hardest difficulty, Natalia has 2 objectives to complete after you save her, the second of which completes just 5 seconds before the countdown finishes and the train explodes. This hardly leaves enough time, and many times she will die in the explosion as she rushes to leave the train. But there's a way around this. Right after you shoot Aramov, if you also shoot Xenia, she screams out to Trevelyan that she's been hit. This delays the countdown and gives you more breathing room to complete the objective. But in true 90s video game fashion, you're not told about any of this. There is nothing telling you to shoot Xenia. It's a bit brutal. This is the only part of the level that's like this. The rest, as I've said, is fairly intuitive. As a game overall, Goldeneye felt unique in its design and gameplay. Yes, there were other 90s shooters like Doom and Quake and Duke Nukem, but no game really had a similar vibe to Goldeneye. Its style really wasn't felt until Rare's next game, Perfect Dark, and later Timesplitters. One reason for Goldeneye's originality may have been due to how Rare went about creating Goldeneye's missions. They utilized sort of a backdoor approach to level design. First, the team's architect built the levels largely based on scenes from the movie, but all he built was the structure. Objectives and progression weren't yet thought of or considered. Then, a different person went through and thought of the objectives and enemy placements. This may have contributed to Goldeneye's unique feeling. If you're interested in learning more about this, there's a great YouTube documentary about the development of the game with developer interviews. I'll link it in the description. Something else that plays a big role in enabling Train to reach the intensity it does is the music. I've mentioned GoldenEye's soundtrack quite a few times now in my previous few videos, and anyone who's played the game can vouch for its quality. Train once again delivers. It fits the level perfectly, with ups and downs matching the level's progression. Train is a level that relies on its tension and pace to be good. If it wasn't pulled off well, it just wouldn't work. The developers were able to find that perfect sweet spot. With GoldenEye, they made one of the most influential shooters of all time, and Train personified much of the game's overall style, in turn becoming one of the most classic FPS levels of the 90s and beyond. Whenever I return to GoldenEye, even after not playing it for a few years, Train is one of my go-to levels. The level is a blast from start to finish. I don't think it will ever stop being fun. If you'd like to see more GoldenEye content from me, check out my previous videos. If you want to see more level breakdowns like this, let me know in the comments. And help me out by subscribing. It goes a long way. Thank you for watching.